In 1977, humanity did something incredibly brave and incredibly foolish. We launched the Voyager probes, two small ships of metal and wire hurled into the dark carrying a message. The golden record, a greeting, a mixtape of our sounds, our music, our biology. But most dangerously, it carried a map, a pulsar map, pinpointing the exact location of Earth relative to the brightest stars in the galaxy. We sent a return address. We told the void exactly where to find us. We did this because we were optimistic. We believed that any civilization advanced enough to find the probe would be wise enough to come in peace. We projected our own hopes onto the canvas of the cosmos. We assumed that technology brings morality. We assumed that the stars are filled with explorers, scientists, and friends. But I look at this through the lens of history and through the lens of the weapon I helped create, and I see a different picture. I see a map to a treasure chest floating in a sea of pirates. I see a child shouting in a dark forest, assuming that the things moving in the trees are his parents when they might be wolves. The silence of the universe is not a sign that we are alone. It is a sign that everyone else knows to be quiet. And we are the only ones foolish enough to scream. To understand why we must stop looking, why we must stop broadcasting, we have to look at the numbers. This is the Fermi paradox. The physicist Enrico Fermi looked at the sheer size of the galaxy, hundreds of billions of stars, billions of years of history, and he asked a simple question: where is everybody? The mathematics suggests we should be drowning in signals. Even if life is rare, the universe is so old that civilization should have spread everywhere by now. It only takes a few million years to colonize a galaxy, and the Milky Way is 10 billion years old. There should be empires. There should be Dyson spheres blocking the light of stars. There should be radio chatter filling every frequency. But there is nothing, just static, just the cold hiss of the cosmic background radiation. There are two possibilities. One, we are alone. We are the first or the last or the only. This is a lonely thought, but it is a safe one. It means the galaxy is ours. Two, they are there, but they are silent. And if they are silent, there is a reason, and that reason is fear. Let us apply the logic of game theory to the cosmos. This is not about biology, it is about strategy. Imagine two hunters in a dark forest. Neither knows the other is there. Neither knows the other's intentions. They cannot speak to each other because the distance is too great and the darkness is too thick. Suddenly, one hunter snaps a twig. He makes a noise. The other hunter hears it. What does he do? Does he call out? Does he ask, "Are you friendly?" No. That reveals his position. That creates a risk. If the other hunter is hostile, calling out is suicide. If the other hunter is hungry, calling out is suicide. Even if the other hunter is peaceful, he might be afraid that you are hostile and strike first to protect himself. The only rational move, the only move that guarantees survival, is to shoot at the sound, to eliminate the potential threat before it can become a real one. This is the dark forest theory. It suggests that the universe is not a community. It is a battlefield where the primary rule is to remain undetected. Every civilization is a hunter, and every civilization that reveals itself is prey. We think of aliens as people. We think they will have curiosity, empathy, culture, but we are projecting human evolution onto alien biology. On Earth, different species compete for resources. Wolves eat deer. Bacteria consume hosts. Humans wage war for land and oil. Why would the cosmos be different? The basic axioms of life are universal: survive, expand, consume. Resources in the universe are finite. Matter is finite. Energy is finite. Any civilization that expands will eventually need more. And if they see another civilization growing, expanding, consuming, they see a rival, they see a threat. And here is the most terrifying variable: the technological explosion. You might argue, why would a super advanced civilization fear us? We are primitive. We are ants to them. We are no threat. This is a fatal mistake. In the cosmic time frame, the difference between a primitive civilization and a godlike civilization is a blink of an eye. Look at us. 500 years ago, we were fighting with swords and riding horses. Today, we split the atom and send ships to the edge of the solar system. What will we be in another 500 years? What will we be in 1,000,000 years? To an immortal alien civilization, humanity is not an ant. We are a virus. We are small now, but we are growing exponentially. If they leave us alone in a few millennia, we might rival them. We might want their stars. We might want their territory. Therefore, the safest time to wipe us out is now, while we are still contained on one planet, while we are still shouting our coordinates into the void. It is the logic of the preemptive strike. You do not wait for the baby tiger to grow claws. You remove it while it is defenseless. This logic creates a chain of suspicion. Even if a civilization is peaceful, they cannot know if we are peaceful, and they cannot know if we think they are peaceful. The communication lag, the time it takes for light to travel between stars, makes diplomacy impossible. If a star is 100 light years away, it takes 200 years to say hello and get a reply. You cannot negotiate. You cannot build trust. You can only judge capabilities. And if you see a civilization capable of spaceflight, you must assume they are capable of violence. Because spaceflight implies physics, and physics implies weapons. If you can build a rocket to Mars, you can build a missile to a neighboring star. The same math that carries a probe carries a warhead. So the universe stays quiet. The wise civilizations, the old ones, the survivors, they mask their heat signatures, they encrypt their communications. They hide in the gravity wells of black holes or deep in the void between stars. They listen, they watch, they do not speak. And then there is Earth, the noisy neighbor. For 100 years we have been blasting radio waves into space. Television, radar, the Olympics, Hitler's speeches. I love Lucy. A sphere of noise expanding at the speed of light, telling everyone exactly how primitive, how chaotic, and how loud we are. We are standing in the middle of the dark forest, lighting a bonfire and screaming, "Here we are, come find us." We send METI signals, messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. We build powerful transmitters like Arecibo and aim them at star clusters, sending complex mathematical codes. We think we are being clever. Look at us, we know prime numbers, we know geometry. But to a listener in the dark, those signals don't say we are smart. They say we are stupid. They say we lack the instinct for survival. They mark us as a civilization that has not yet learned the first rule of the cosmos. Silence is safety. Think of the history of contact on our own planet. When a technologically advanced civilization meets a primitive one, what happens? Does it result in a wonderful exchange of knowledge? Does it result in peace? Rarely. It results in colonization. It results in disease. It results in the erasure of the primitive culture. The Native Americans, the Incas, the Aztecs, they did not benefit from the arrival of the European ships. They were destroyed by them. And those were humans meeting humans. Same species, same biology, same capacity for empathy. Now imagine the gap between us and a species that can travel between stars. The gap is not like Europeans and Aztecs. It is like a boot and an anthill. The boot does not hate the anthill. The boot does not want to enslave the ants. The boot simply steps, and the ants are gone. They are not destroyed out of malice. They are destroyed out of indifference. We assume aliens would want our resources. Our water, our gold. This is unlikely. Water and gold are common in the universe. Asteroids are full of them. They don't need to fight a war for water. They have plenty, but there is one resource that is rare, one resource that is dangerous. Real estate, a habitable planet, a biosphere, or perhaps they don't want the planet at all. Perhaps they simply want to remove a potential competitor. The shoot first. Logic doesn't require them to want our stuff. It only requires them to want their own safety. And how would they do it? We imagine alien invasions like in the movies. Motherships descending over cities, lasers, ground troops fighting in New York. This is absurd. A civilization capable of interstellar travel would not fight a ground war. They would not risk a single life. They would use physics. They would throw a rock, a relativistic kill vehicle, take an asteroid or a dense block of metal, accelerate it to 90% of the speed of light, aim it at Earth. When it hits, it does not just make a crater. The kinetic energy is so vast that it hits with the force of millions of nuclear bombs. It creates a shockwave that boils the oceans and ignites the atmosphere. It sterilizes the planet in minutes. We wouldn't even see it coming. It moves nearly as fast as the light that carries its image. One moment the sky is blue. The next, the world is ending. No negotiations. No Independence Day speeches. Just silence returning to the forest. This is why the silence of the universe is so heavy. It is not an empty silence. It is a pregnant silence. It is the silence of a predator holding its breath, and we are breaking it. Every day, we discuss building bigger transmitters. We discuss sending probes to Alpha Centauri. We are like children playing with matches in a gunpowder factory, convinced that the sparks are pretty. There is another possibility, of course, one that is intimately connected to my own work. Maybe the forest isn't full of hunters. Maybe the forest is empty because everyone is dead. Maybe there is a great filter, a barrier that civilization cannot pass. Life arises, it evolves, it builds tools, it builds science, it splits the atom, and then it destroys itself. The window between discovering high-energy physics and annihilating yourself might be very, very short. I watched the first atomic test at Trinity. I saw the fire that could consume worlds, and I realized that we had built the means of our own extinction before we had built the wisdom to control it. Maybe this is the rule. Maybe every civilization builds a gun, puts it to its own head, and eventually pulls the trigger. Nuclear war, biological engineering, artificial intelligence, gray goo. There are so many ways to fall. If the great filter is real, then the silence is a graveyard. It is a warning that intelligence is a self-correcting mistake, a biological anomaly that naturally burns itself out. In that case, we are not hiding from hunters. We are racing against our own nature. We are trying to prove that a species can hold the power of stars in its hands without burning its fingers, and looking at our history, looking at the Cold War, looking at how close we came. I am not optimistic. But if the filter lies behind us, if we are the rare exception that survived, then we are even more precious and even more vulnerable. If we are the only candle flame in a dark room, the wind is our enemy. Let us return to the Voyager probe. It is currently leaving the solar system. It is traveling through the Oort cloud into the deep interstellar night. It carries our music, Bach, Chuck Berry, the sounds of whales, a mother kissing a child. It is a beautiful gesture, a monument to our hope. But it is also a tombstone. If that probe is ever found, it will be found by something that patrols the dark. And that something will look at the map. It will calculate the trajectory. It will turn its sensors toward the yellow dwarf star in the Orion arm. And it will decide. What if they are benevolent? What if I am wrong? What if there is a galactic federation of peace and enlightenment waiting for us to join? It is possible, I cannot disprove it, but the stakes are asymmetrical. If I am wrong and we stop broadcasting, we miss out on a conversation. We delay our entry into the club. We remain lonely for a few more centuries. That is a loss, but it is survivable. But if I am right, and we keep broadcasting, the consequence is extinction, total, permanent, irreversible. When the penalty for being wrong is death, the only rational choice is caution. The only rational choice is silence. We should be listening. We should be building the biggest telescopes possible. We should be scanning every frequency, watching every star for the telltale signs of engineering, of heat, of propulsion. We should be the silent hunter in the tree, watching the forest floor. But we should not be making noise. We should not be sending invitations. We need to mature. We need to grow up. Humanity is currently in its adolescence. We are loud, reckless, and convinced of our own immortality. We drive fast cars and shout at the night, but the universe is old. It is full of things that have been patient for 1 billion years. It does not tolerate recklessness. There is a concept in physics called the light cone. It is the region of space-time that can affect us or be affected by us. Every time we send a signal, we expand our light cone. We inform a larger and larger volume of the universe that we exist. We are expanding the target on our back. We are gambling with the lives of every human being who will ever be born. And we are doing it without a vote. A few astronomers in California decided to speak for Earth. They decided to gamble the survival of the species on the hope that aliens are nice. This is arrogance. This is madness. Imagine if the Aztecs had a radio in 1491. Imagine if they could have broadcasted to Europe. Here we are. We have gold. We have land. Come visit. Would that have been a wise decision, or would it have simply hastened the catastrophe? We are the Aztecs, and the ships are out there in the black ocean between the stars. We cannot see their sails yet. We cannot see their cannons, but we know they are there, because the math says they must be, and the silence says they are waiting. So look at the night sky. It is beautiful, it is vast, it is full of stars, but do not look at it with the eyes of a child wishing for a friend. Look at it with the eyes of a soldier. Look at the darkness between the stars. That is where the danger lies. That is the forest. We are sitting around our campfire, warm and safe on our little rock. The firelight pushes back the shadows for a few miles, but beyond the firelight the forest goes on forever. And we have no idea what is watching us from the tree line. We must put out the fire. We must stop singing. We must crouch down in the dark and wait. We must survive. Because in the dark forest there are only two kinds of civilizations, the silent ones and the dead ones. The Voyager probe cannot be recalled. The radio waves from the 1930s cannot be caught. The damage is done. The ripples are spreading. We can only hope that they are too faint, too lost in the noise of the galaxy to be noticed. We can only hope that we are too small to be worth the ammunition. But we can stop adding to the noise. We can choose discretion. We can choose to be the observer, not the observed. This is not paranoia. This is calculus. The calculus of survival in a universe that does not care about us. The universe is indifferent. It gave us life, but it will not protect us. We must protect ourselves. And the first step of protection is camouflage. You might find this depressing. You might want to believe in Star Trek. You might want to believe that the future is a brotherhood of species holding hands across the galaxy. And perhaps one day it can be. But you do not make friends by walking unarmed into a war zone. You make friends by becoming strong enough to be respected, by becoming advanced enough to defend yourself. We are not there yet. We are vulnerable. We are soft. We are easy prey. Until we have spread to other planets, until we have mastered the physics of high energy, until we can defend our solar system, we are naked. And the naked should not shout. So let the radio telescopes listen. Let the computers analyze the static, but let the transmitters stay cold. Let the golden record be an anomaly, not a precedent. Let us be the quiet ones, the ones who survived because we knew when to hold our tongue. The stars are not our friends. They are not our enemies. They are simply places where other survivors might be hiding. And if we want to join them in the deep time of the universe, we must learn the lesson of the forest. As they change. Listen. Do you hear that? Exactly. Keep it that way.